Another type of ionic compounds are called hydrates. And hydrates are ionic compounds that have a specific number of water molecules associated with each formula unit. So this is different than an ionic compound that is wet or damp, because the water is associated in the crystal structure. And so these are called hydrates. Here we have an example of two compounds, cobalt 2 chloride in both of them. This one's red and that one's purple. This is the hydrate. For every formula unit of cobalt 2 chloride, there are 6 water molecules in the crystal structure. And over here, this one has no water molecules in it. So this is called the hydrate because it has water. Like when you're well hydrated, you have had enough to drink, right? And this isn't the dehydrate, it's the anhydrate, or the anhydrous form. So an meaning without water. So in naming these, we name the ionic compound exactly the same way, and then we use a numerical prefix to indicate how many water molecules there are. Epsom salt is a hydrate that you might be familiar with. People use that to soak sore feet, etc. That's magnesium sulfate, heptahydrate. So in the name here, sorry, that's not the name, in the formula, there's a dot in the middle. That dot is not a multiplication sign, okay? It doesn't mean that it's multiplied by 7 water molecules, because how could you do that, right? That's ridiculous. It's a dot saying these guys are together. So for every one of these things, we have 7 of those. Okay? The systematic name given there, here's cobalt 2 chloride hexahydrate. So here are the common hydrate prefixes, and these are the same prefixes that we're going to use for molecular compounds, so they're good things to learn. A lot of these are also used in geometry. So if you think of a pentagon has 5 sides, a hexagon has 6 sides, right? Octagon, you're familiar with some of these. One of the kind of weird ones here is hemi. Hemi means half. So the hemisphere, the Earth has 2 hemispheres, right? There are 2 half spheres. Mono is 1, etc. So these are good to know. So let's practice naming these things. Name these hydrates. Well, we name the first part as an ionic compound. What element has the symbol Ca? Calcium. Is calcium in group 1A, 2A, 3A, zinc or silver? Yes, it's in group 2A. What does that tell us? It does not need a Roman numeral because we know the charge. And then the rest of that, after the Ca, the SO4, sulfate. And how do we know that? Because we memorize it. Because I said so. Then there's the dot, and the prefix for half is hemi. It's just like right over here. Hemi. And then for the water part, hydrate. Now, anybody curious how you can have half a water molecule? Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, how does that work? So the convention is that you use 1 formula unit of the ionic compound, and however many waters are associated with that. So what this one really has is for every 1 water molecule, there are 2 units of calcium sulfate. So it's not that there's half a water molecule somewhere. It's just that the ratio is such. Instead of saying a dicalcium sulfate monohydrate, it's always the ionic compound that has 1 unit, and then the prefix goes with the hydrate. How about this one? Barium chloride. Barium is in group 2A, so it doesn't need a Roman numeral. And then the prefix for 6, hexahydrate. So these compounds are going to have 3 names. Right? Some humans go by 3 names. Mary Jane Smith, right? She gets upset if you just call her Mary. I made her up, but she does get upset. I don't know, it's going to be a weird day. Write the formula. So when we write the formula, remember, we need to look at the charges on the ions. So until you get good at this, excuse me, we need to make a little note somewhere and actually write out those formulas. So copper is Cu, and what does the Roman numeral 2 tell me? The charge is 2+. And then I've got sulfate. So in my memory banks, I pull out the formula for sulfate. SO4 2-. If you don't have these down yet, it is not too late. Memorize them. It's going to benefit you the rest of the semester. So how do I put those two ions together so their charges add up to 0? They're good. I just need one of each because their charges are equal and opposite. So Cu, SO4. Make sure that O is nice and big. This one was a little puny over here. And then penta means 5. So I'm going to put a dot here. It's a dot. It's not a multiplication sign. It's just a dot. And a 5H2O. Any questions? Hydrates are not a big deal in this class, but they do come up occasionally.